So welcome, thanks for being with us today, and congratulations,
Thank you.
Representative-elect Davis.
Thank
Has that
you.
sunk in yet when you hear that?
Oh my gosh, it's been such an exciting journey. I'm just Aisha, so just getting used to this, it's just been amazing.
What are you looking forward to most about this? Because you're leaving the State Board of Education, and this is a whole different ballgame. Yes, there are politics on the SBOE, but the Texas House of Representatives right now is the hotbed.
Well, when I was on the State Board of Education, I got to do some amazing things for public schools, but we had to work within the state law. So if we had stronger state laws for public education, the State Board could do even more. So that's why I was so interested in this position once it came available. And it's just been exciting to know all of the things that I can do to work with my colleagues across the House to figure out how we support our public schools.
Well, what are some of those things you want to change then that you saw at the State Board of Education? You say, well, this law needs to be changed so we can do this, that, or the other. What do you want to do?
We definitely need to figure out how to support the teacher pipeline. We need to make sure that we...
Hire more?
I'm sorry?
Hire more teachers?
Oh, absolutely. Hire more teachers, prepare more folks to be teachers, make folks excited about the teaching profession. Right now in Texas, we have a lot of folks, there's a hurdle when it comes to certification. So figuring out how we can get more folks into those certified programs, those programs for certification, figuring out how we can pay our teachers and keep them in the profession.
Yeah, because we heard a lot about teacher pay raises the last time around, and of course we went into all of these special sessions, and it never happened, even with that record surplus.
Right. And even though they didn't get any pay raises, there were still a lot of unfunded mandates that did pass. So you had teachers that were doing more work with less pay. And so I definitely want to have some conversations about how we fix that.
So the biggest education issue is going to be school vouchers. Are you ready for this fight?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Absolutely. I just definitely want to have conversations about what this could look like in Texas.
Well, what's going to happen, do you think? Because Republicans say they think they're really close to having the votes finally. They've been talking about this for 2 decades, as you know, but they say they're finally close to actually having the votes. Is it going to happen?
I think the more we talk about the potential consequences of what vouchers could do here in Texas, we need to focus more on funding our public schools than we do sending money anywhere else. If there's going to be a true choice, we got to have strong public schools as a choice. So that should be the topic that we talk about more than anything else. And the more we talk about that, the more we'll see it's going to take a lot of money to make sure our public schools have what they need to function. That money isn't going to be really available to give to our private schools. So I think by focusing on what our public schools need, both our public ISDs and our public charters, then you'll see we have a lot of choice around Texas, and we got to figure out how to fully fund it.
What are your biggest concerns when it comes to this idea of a universal voucher program? Because, you know, as Jason was saying, this has been gaining momentum among Republicans. They've gotten some of their members out who went against this the last time. They've gotten some more friendly potential votes in there this time. It looks like it, you know, could happen. What specifically would you tell someone who is thinking, school choice sounds good? What would you tell them is your concern about vouchers?
I'm looking at what's happening in other states that have passed universal voucher bills into law, Arizona, our neighbors, Oklahoma. And I'm seeing that there hasn't really been a true choice where you see students who are leaving public schools and going to private. They're still not able to afford it. It's a lot more involved. We're talking lunches, we're talking uniforms, we're talking resources. So when we think about, you know, oh, okay, I get this little chunk of money and now I can go anywhere I want, that's not the reality of what a voucher would be. And then we see these budgets in these states and how they started off with a couple of million, you know, thinking it would cost that much, and now they're hundreds of millions, you know, in debt with their voucher systems. We simply can't have that here in Texas.
How do you get that across then if you're, you know, dealing with, you know, you'll be in the minority as a Democrat there in the House. How do you get that point across to the majority?
Having those crucial conversations, not just me, but all of the entities that are involved in this discussion, especially those community members that rely on the public schools. So I think all of us coming together to have those crucial conversations, that's the way we start to look at the reality of what vouchers will be here in Texas.
You know, some Republican leaders, though, say we want to fully fund public schools and set aside money for vouchers. If schools were fully funded, public schools fully funded, would you support vouchers?
Well, we got to talk about what fully funding all of our public schools in Texas would look like. And if there's a budget to fully fund public schools where teachers are paid adequately and they have a system of raises that aren't dependent on STAR scores. And we have teachers that are able to get all of these resources for all these different courses that they're teaching. And we have schools that are able to really invest in their infrastructure and all the new resources and buildings. If we talk about how much that would really cost for the over 1,200 ISDs and the charter schools that we adopt and approve and expand every single year, that's a lot of money. So until we realistically talk about what a fully funded public school is, then we're going to see those numbers are a lot more than what I think the idea is, to be able to have both a system of fully funded schools and a voucher system.
And do you have any arguments about still tying things to STAR scores when, if you did have a voucher program, kids who are going to those voucher schools wouldn't be expected to take a STAR test or have any kind of measure?
Absolutely. And even deeper than that, what you'll see, what we've seen, is you'll have students, they're not going to accept students that have exceptional needs if they don't have the staff that's there to be able to serve those students. So you'll have the ISDs who are educating an array of students with a bunch of different needs. And you'll have the private schools that'll have the students who are top tier, who don't really have as many special needs as some of those other students that aren't being accepted.
And they'd be able to select basically who comes to their school.
Absolutely. The choice isn't necessarily with the families, it's still with the school. You don't get to say, oh, I have a voucher, so I'm automatically accepted. So it's not truly a parental choice.
What if there are schools, private schools, that don't take vouchers because they don't have to, take that money and be in the program?
Right, and they don't. They can continue to function as they have, not accept those. But I believe schools that do accept the voucher, there has to be some accountability for them. They have to be able to say, okay, well, we're going to accept students, regardless of your needs. We're going to accept students regardless of your background or your zip code. So until we really start to talk about how it's going to be a true parental choice, then it's a lot that's deep into the voucher.
You're ready for
discussion.
this, I can tell.
Yes.
You're ready for this one.
Yes.
You're fired up.
Well, you've been on the
She
state.
said, bring it to us,
Yes.
huh?
Well, of course, you served 2 terms on the State Board of Education.
Yes.
You've been a teacher for many years. You've also gotten a master's in education. You're pursuing a PhD in education.
Yes.
So this is obviously your passion,
Yes.
and so you bring that knowledge to this. Someone would say that you're a specialist in this. How much is that going to help you to be able to make those arguments once you get into the legislature?
It's been quite a few folks on both sides of the aisle that appreciate that background in education, being a teacher and being on the State Board of Ed, and they're curious to know how things function over there. So being able to bring that perspective will help. I'm going to focus more on issues rather than politics. And so when we take that out and just talk about the things that are going on in the reality of our public schools, then we can really start to think about ways to improve things for them.
Is it possible to take politics out?
I was about to ask that question. Yeah, come on, Aisha. You and I have known each other for a while.
We were able to do some amazing things at the State Board of Ed. It was 15 of us. It was 6 and 9 when I first was elected, 10 and 5 when I left.
You mean 10 Republicans, 5 Democrats?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were still able to fight for strong public schools, for teachers to have fair opportunities to be able to move around if they needed to. So it was some really hard things that we had to come together on. And I didn't win every fight, but together we were able to do some amazing
Didn't you
things.
get the African American Studies program through in a unanimous vote, though?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not only
That's
was it
surprising
unanimous,
in this climate right now. I mean, we hear so much about, especially, if you look at Florida
Yes.
and anti-woke and that
Yeah,
sort of
killing
thing.
DEI.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of surprising.
Well, it was 2 things. One, all of my colleagues contributed to that course. They were all suggesting different things. My colleague Pat Hardy in Fort Worth is the one who told us about convict leasing. None of us had ever even heard of it until she said it. And then the bodies in Sugar Land were discovered probably months after that discussion. So all of them were just, so helpful in creating the course. Now, that was in 2020. It was before the anti-CRT bills passed into law.
Critical race theory.
Yes, and so now there's a different perspective of some of the information in our ethnic studies courses. We have our Native American studies course has been held up because there's some concern with critical race theory in it. So it was a different time when we adopted that course than it is now, but I'm glad we were able to do it.
So the other big news in the House is going to be the speaker's race. It's going to be a Republican who gets it, but what's remarkable to me is that Republicans, since they're not unified, they have to go begging and pleading to Democrats for votes. Do you ever think you'd be in this position?
Well, I have not signed on to anyone yet.
You haven't?
No, I wanted to make sure that I knew enough to make the right decision.
So what else do you need to know about these two? Are you going to wait until day of, on the first day of the legislature?
I likely will because it's, a couple of days. Still learning more and more about each of them and some of their priorities and some of the folks they surround themselves with and some of their goals for the session. So just taking time to really think about it, talk to constituents, talk to other leaders around Dallas County and other leaders in the House. It's been a journey figuring it all out.
Has your phone been ringing though? Have
they reached out to you?
Have the main players reached out?
A lot of folks have been reaching out on both sides, on both sides of the aisle. And it's been nice getting to know a lot of folks that I never thought I would be talking to because of this, but it's a little 24 or so of us that have not made a decision, and how we decide will pretty much decide who the speaker will be.
Now, how do you know it's 24 who haven't made a decision yet? Is there like a group text, or how does that work? How do you keep up with this?
Yeah, just looking at the numbers of Democrats that have signed with boroughs already, and the number of Democrats who haven't signed at all. So just thinking of those numbers, the folks who haven't really been, talking to one side more than the other, we really could make a difference on who the speaker actually ends up being.
It's a lot of power as an incoming freshman.
And I want to do the right things with it.
So what would someone have to say to get your vote to be speaker? What would Burrows or Cook have to tell you or offer you?
I definitely would like a speaker who cares about the fidelity of the process of lawmaking in the House. So someone who wants to make sure we have strong rules where someone could, bring points of order, where someone could introduce bills, where there's a fair opportunity for folks to serve on committees and lead committees. So someone who's really interested in making sure good laws pass through, bills pass through there, more than anything else.
There's a chance that even after this speaker fight is settled, that there are going to be disgruntled Republicans on one side of this or the other, because again, this is Republican versus Republican going for this, and these are two pretty defined factions of that party. If one side is disgruntled after this is all said and done, does that open opportunities for the Democratic Party? Because, for decades now, Democrats have not held power in the House. Does it open up an opportunity if there is a division within the party?
There is a clear division. I believe when it's time to make policy, they'll come together a little bit more, because even though they're divided on this, they still have a lot of common ideas when it comes to policy. So I do believe there is an opportunity for Democrats to be a little more influential this session than before. From my understanding, it's never been a speaker's race. It's just been undecided this close to opening day. So that in itself says, okay, well, this is a different type of session that's going to happen. And what do we do to make sure that the voice of Texans is heard? Democrats have historically fought for those who have been marginalized and whose voice really isn't at the table enough in Austin. So how do we use that division that's going on to make sure that that voice is at the table and that all Texans get a fair chance?
I asked you about your lapel pin when you walked in. It's a nice lapel pin, and you said it's from Synfronia Thompson, veteran lawmaker from Houston.
Yes.
She is highly respected by both sides of the aisle. What kind of
Yes.
advice did she give you?
Listen. To listen.
Oh, I thought you were telling Jason to listen. He needs that advice as well.
Either way, I'm listening. So,
Told you to listen.
To listen.
really,
It's a different ball game at the House, and just because I've served before, it's not like this. And I'm so glad for that advice, because I was able to sit back and listen what's going on with the House Democratic Caucus, listen what's going on during freshman orientation, when it was folks coming bringing all kinds of information, throughout the week. And I've been able to learn so much in these last couple of weeks from that.
Has it been overwhelming? I mean, when you go to this week-long orientation, you're trying to, get up to speed, especially as a freshman. You're trying to get up to speed and figure out how this all works.
Yeah. I was able to do a lot of homework beforehand, so I had some expectations on some things, and I've built some relationships at the Capitol from, previously being on the state board. So I was coming in kind of with an idea, and so you know, leaning on my family, leaning on my fiance. They've been just so supportive in making sure that I'm able to just really focus on this and figure it out so I can be effective in the next session.
You said do homework. What did you, I mean, what did you do? Did you call people? Did you look at news articles? How do you prepare for this as a newly elected state representative?
All of that, but one of the main things I did for homework came at the suggestion of Representative John Bryant.
He's a Democrat in Houston, yeah.
No, he's here in Dallas.
Oh, I'm sorry, in Dallas, yeah.
Yes. Read the rules book. So been learning about rules and how the rules function at the House. I just got good with Robert's rules because that's what we use at the state board. So I'm coming over like, I got it. And like, no, rules at the House are totally different. So understanding how the rules works, that's going to make all the difference in being involved.
It's all about processes.
Oh,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Do you spend time to, like, especially when you're there for orientation, and this is a big class of freshmen coming in, there's been a lot of
Yes.
turnover there in the House. Do you spend any time trying to buddy up, get to know a few Republicans, because you've talked a lot about working across the aisle at the State Board of Education and trying to foster that to get your initiatives pushed through. Are you sort of scoping out, like, who do I think I can work with here and develop a relationship with right away?
Yeah, no, you know, I actually had a very pleasant time during freshman orientation getting to know my colleagues from both sides of the aisle. So some folks that, you know, were like, oh, you probably won't get to know her, you probably won't get to know him. We've all had a chance to connect on something that we have in common. So I had a chance to, you know, sit at tables with different people from all across Texas. I got to know folks from, you know, different ideologies and things, but we all found something in common. So I found way more allies than I ever thought I would in my freshman class.
Were you taking notes?
Oh yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. So last thing I have for you too, just curious what your constituents now are telling you they want you to do for your district in Dallas County.
Definitely, well, beyond public education, looking at business ownership and looking at our hub program, our historically underutilized businesses, to figure out how more small businesses can get resources. That's the heart of Texas economy. So figuring that out, housing, development, how do we make our area just amazing? There's so much potential. We have a lot of rural area, as well as we're right here in Dallas County. So how do we maximize that area so that DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, Dallas is just the most amazing place in all of Texas?
You have a lot to do.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised too that, and I had seen this from you, that House District 109, which you'll be representing, has more union members than any other district in Dallas County. I didn't know that. So that's a big thought and concern for you going in a state that traditionally isn't very union friendly.
Yes, we have a lot of good opportunities for different industries and workforce development in District 109. And we do have a lot of those union members who choose to work there, and it's amazing. They fight hard to make sure that every worker has a fair opportunity. We actually want to expand that and have more opportunities for even more people. So just maximizing the area that we have. Representative Sherman did a fantastic job in making sure the district looked the way it did. So just making sure that we have all the resources to make it as great as we possibly can.
Carl Sherman Sr., of course, who was the longtime rep of District 109.
Yes.
My last thing for you is beyond education. I know that that is your number one priority. Is there something, have you hashed out a bill on something else, or is there a bill in your head that you really would like to get through that is not education?
You know, I've been having some really good conversations about health care and women's reproductive rights. There have been some women who have died because of the bills that passed into law last session. So figuring out what do we need to do to keep Texas women safe and healthy. I had a great conversation just yesterday with the AFIA Center about Black women and maternity mortality. So figuring that out, where we need to scale back some things from the bill that passed, or maybe add some different language to make sure that women are healthy and able to take care of their babies. That's also a priority of mine.
I'm going to pull a Whiteley here and do one more last question,
Okay.
because this is his famous thing. You were fairly comfortable, I would imagine, at the State Board of Education. You were 2 terms in. This is your passion. What possessed you to go, you know what, I'm going to run for the Texas House now? knowing that you would be with the party that has been in the minority in the House for decades now, and the House has been steadily moving to the right for the past, however many sessions. What possessed you to think, well, I'm going to go over there and I think I can make a difference there?
Public education is a foundation of a strong community. The stronger the public education system there, the stronger the economy is going to be. So using that to build laws so you have a strong public education system, a strong healthcare system, housing opportunities. I wanted to be a voice to know how we can all put this together and create a better Texas. So it's not going to be easy. None of this has ever been easy. And I've made a lot of sacrifices knowing that. But I'm very proud to be able to start some of those conversations and add my perspective, add some data to it, so we can really come up with some good things for Texans and for schools. So it was an easy decision when I thought about the potential of being able to, have more resources for those Texans that really need it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.